5.
Make sure that CC and clip ready. We need it for the second.
4.
Facts from the Clarendon correspondent coming through now.
3.
All the international stories in the folder. Good to
2.
Newsreaders all set.
Yeah, man, everything set, everything ready.
1.
From the grill to Morant Point, NewsTalk 93 FM has got it covered. Across the 7 seas to the 4 corners of the world, it's all captured on the 93 radar. 93.1, 93.3, 93.5, 93.7 and 93.9 on your FM dial. Real News at 5 starts now.
Good afternoon. Time for the 5 o'clock news roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Coming up in this newscast, Ministry of Education asked St. Hilda's High School Board to review decision to rescind appointment of head girl.
National Security Minister Peter Bunting links last night's killing of a family in Hanover to lottery scamming.
Top lawyer detained by major organized anti-corruption agency as he leaves a courtroom.
And member of Churches Union Uniting Society for Emancipation, Dr. Wayne West, says organization is needed to counter the breakdown of morality in the society.
And now the details. The Ministry of Education's regional director met today with the principal of St. Hilda's Diocesan High School in Brownstown about the decision to rescind the initial appointment of head girl Jade Basco. Based on the advice of the regional director, the ministry has asked the school board to review the decision. In a release yesterday, St. Hilda's said the appointment of Jade Basco as head girl was rescinded because of the potential conflict that the position would pose, given that she is a Jehovah's Witness. The statement said the school has never asked students of other denominational persuasions to assume duties that are in conflict with their beliefs or the practice of their faith. Rhonda Clark, Jade's mother, also said her daughter was stripped of the position because she's a member of the Jehovah's Witness organization.
Meanwhile, Deputy Spokesperson on Education and Youth in the Jamaica Labour Party, Robert Morgan, is calling on the school board to reinstate head girl Jade Basco and apologize to her. Morgan says he's troubled by the actions of the school in withdrawing the appointment of their head girl because of the possibility that she might be a Jehovah's Witness. According to Morgan, the school is in a good place to send a positive message to the society and its students about tolerance, fairness, and dialogue. The deputy spokesperson says he's disappointed about the hands-off approach of the Minister of Education. He says he has noted that the minister's statement that the board would resolve the matter is not enough.
Minister of Security Peter Bunting has linked Thursday night's killing of a family in Hanover to lottery scamming. In condemning the killings, Bunting says everyone is seeing how much of a danger lottery scamming is to the security of the country. He says Jamaica is paying for it with the precious lives of innocent citizens, men, women, and children. Bunting adds that last night's heinous crime shows that scamming not only affects those who participate and directly profit from it, but those who associate with them, even where those associations are distant. He also made mention of the elderly, along with the very young, being targeted because of association with individuals who are involved in this illegal activity.
Meanwhile, opposition spokesman on national security Derek Smith is condemning last night's gruesome attack on a family of 10 in Logwood, Hanover, which has left 6 persons dead and others injured. Smith says the increasing incidence of murder, especially in areas not typically considered crime spots. In light of this, the government must act decisively and demonstrate that it is serious about fighting crime. The opposition spokesman says Police Commissioner Dr. Carl Williams should give an assurance that the perpetrators will be apprehended and brought to justice in the shortest possible time. Smith says where murders are concerned, the police division of Hanover has gotten totally out of control. He adds that when a parish with a population of just over 70,000 is racking up the number of murders Hanover has racked up since the start of the year, the country has a serious situation on its hands.
And residents of Logwood are still in disbelief and shock this afternoon, hours after news came that 6 residents of the community were brutally murdered last night in an attack described as a massacre. According to reports at about 11 o'clock last night, 4 men in a Toyota Corolla motorcar entered the community and kicked open the door of a 5-apartment house. The men reportedly opened fire and set the house ablaze. When the smoke cleared, the 6, who are all from the same family, were dead. They have been identified as 63-year-old Lynette Bloomfield, her 40-year-old son, Mark Bloomfield, her 36-year-old daughter, Kerry Ann Bloomfield, and her nephew, 30-year-old Byron Mangaroo. Kerry Ann Bloomfield's 2 children, 15-year-old Devian Mahabi and 18-year-old Aliyah Mahabi, were also killed in the attack. 4 other family members have been taken to hospital. Relatives of the deceased insist the family was not involved in any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Wichoy Badu, has vowed to find those responsible for the murders.
Lawyers attending court at the Supreme Court building in downtown Kingston this morning raised concerns about the way in which one of their colleagues was allegedly taken into custody by law enforcement personnel. Attorney Earl Melado was this morning detained by members of the Major Organized and Crime Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA. MOCA has confirmed the attorney's detention, and he's currently being questioned by detectives. Sources said the attorney was detained while at the Supreme Court in downtown Kingston. It is reported that the attorney was arrested by police investigators on exiting a courtroom. The attorney had reportedly left the courtroom after presenting a client in a case. Lawyers who were on the scene are claiming that the law enforcement personnel may have acted illegally when they arrested the attorney.
Education Minister Ronald Thwaite says he has submitted a request for a portion of the £360 million grant from the British government to build schools in Jamaica. He says he's anticipating that the first meeting with the British High Commissioner will be held in this coming week. According to the Education Minister, there has been much debate about the prison, which the British government has offered to partly finance. However, he says it appears persons have forgotten that the Prime Minister David Cameron visited Jamaica to announce a grant of £360 million to the region. He said he made it clear the government is interested in some of those funds for education in Jamaica. The minister says several schools across the island, including the Mile Gully High School in Manchester, are slated for expansion. Thwaite says if the funds are available, they should be used to help lift the country from the history of its past. He adds that education is the only legitimate way for upward mobility. He was speaking at the opening of a water closet at the Medina Primary and Infant School in Manchester.
The National Water Commission, NWC, is making another appeal for vandals to leave its systems alone. Yesterday, the NWC reported that one of its systems had again been hit by vandals. It says this time they removed vital chlorine pumping equipment from the Bybrook No. 4 pumping station in St. Catherine. The NWC says this caused the plant to be inoperable and left a number of communities without water supply. The affected communities are Princess Field, Augusttown, Cow Gully, High Mountain, West Prospect, Riversdale Main Road, Church Road, Burton, Cashew Walk, and Hyde Lane.
Opposition spokesman on land and environment, Senator Alexander Williams, says the government must engage the public and work feverishly to prioritize the protection of the environment and watershed areas in mitigating the effects of climate change. Senator Williams said in the face of one of the worst droughts the country has ever faced, the National Water Commission advised Jamaicans that building a new dam to increase water storage capacity for the Kingston metropolitan region was not the best answer to the country's recurring water woes. He said the best potential water source for the capital city would be the vast, untapped underground supply of the precious commodity across sections of the corporate area. He says, unfortunately, poorly managed and regulated sewage arrangements across the city have basically compromised the best potential source of water.
Member of Churches Action United Society for Emancipation, Jamaica Cause, Dr. Wayne West, says the organization is needed in these times to counter the breakdown of morality in the society.
The aim of the cause is to clear, an emancipation first comes with clear thinking. And the problem that we are having in the world today is that desires, what people wish, their desires, their various desires, is obscured maturing their thinking. And so we see in countries like the United States and in England, parts that has drifted off from what is common sense, what we all know.
West, who is also the chairman of Jamaica Coalition for Healthy Society, says first world societies like the United States and the United Kingdom are not allowing people to maintain the traditional family values and lifestyles.
They're not even allowing people to know these things, that the best place for a child is in a home with their biological parents, married and living in a monogamous and healthy relationship. In those countries overseas, you are not allowed to know that simple fact. So we are seeking to bring that common sense, rational, logical position back to public opinion and make it a center stage thing for Jamaica, so that Jamaica will have the benefits of it, and those benefits would be shown to the countries of the world.
Member of Churches Action Uniting Society for Emancipation, Dr. Wayne West. Meanwhile, head of the Portmore Holiness Christian Church, Bishop Dr. Alvin Bailey, is dismissing claims by some people who accuse the church of being only concerned with the increase of the gay lifestyle.
The church has been here for umpteen years, and we have always been against anything that we consider unrighteousness and sin. We speak out against it, and the upsurge of interest on homosexuality is because of the clear declaration of what I considered an onslaught on our morality and on Christianity, and so hence our counter position. But absolutely not. The church is against anything that is against the will and purpose of God.
And in response to the accusation that the church is not being vocal enough about the current increase in the murder rate, he has this to say.
We have the largest gatherings of persons on Saturdays and Sundays, and any one of the services you attend, our prayers almost repetitiously is praying for a peaceful society for the families of the victims of crime and violence and against crime and violence. So, and as often as you, for example, people in the media give us an opportunity to make a statement, we will make a statement, and I will say publicly now that yes, we consider it appalling and certainly unacceptable that so many Jamaicans are dying at the hands of other Jamaicans. It is a concern of ours, and we continue.
Head of the Portmore Holiness Christian Church, Bishop Dr. Alvin Bailey. Both Bailey and Dr. Wayne West, who you heard before, were speaking on the evening edition with host Garfield Higgins yesterday.
You're listening to news on NewsTalk 93 FM. It's 13 minutes after 5. Social commentator Ralston Nemard says the primary duty of a government is to see to the security of the property of all citizens and to practice good governance in the country.
There are two basic, functions that the government has to perform. And the one, of course, is security of the person and property of each citizen that falls within its own geographical border over which it has jurisdiction. I think that is first and foremost. And if we're going to talk about a cradle to grave commitment, I think certainly that has to be, because you can't be too young to be protected by the government and too old not to be. So from that sense, that is the first and basic responsibility I see for the government.
Nemard links people's total dependence on government to the type of politics being practiced by successive governments since independence.
Secondly, I believe that it has to provide good governance. You're providing the proper tenor and the parameters in which people can really take control of their lives and make something of their own existence. I think it's in the matter of the breakdown of governance over the years, certainly for us since independent, that has caused government to be so intrusive in the lives of people, because the kind of politics that we have practiced is such that it is a dependency politics, and poor governance, of course, will breed dependence.
Social commentator Dr. Ralston Nemard, he was speaking on the evening edition.
The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, BSJ, has applied to the government for a license to import some 100 ganja seeds. Minister of Science and Technology Philip Paulwell has confirmed that the application was submitted to his ministry and is currently being considered. Paulwell says his understanding is that the seeds will be used for a pilot project being undertaken by the BSJ to help develop a regulatory framework for the country's fledgling medical marijuana industry. The way was cleared for Jamaica to become a part of the global billion-dollar medical marijuana industry last year, when local lawmakers enacted changes to the Dangerous Drugs Act. The amendments decriminalized possession of small quantities of ganja and also allowed the use of marijuana for religious and medicinal purposes. The BSJ is to serve as the central licensing authority for the industry. And in news from the region, the Royal Bank of Canada has partnered with the Student Centre in Barbados to assist young people to realize their dreams of pursuing tertiary education. It came by way of the signing of a formal Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the two entities yesterday at the Harbour Industrial Park offices of the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries. Speaking prior to the signing of the MOU, Managing Director of RBC Royal Bank in Barbados, Robert De Silva, pointed out that a quality education has the power not only to transform lives, but to build societies and improve generations. As such, he says the organization is committed to being a part of such a positive development and has commended the centre for its effort to assist students interested in post-secondary education.
That's local and regional news. For international news, we join the BBC.
BBC News with Stuart McIntosh. The Pentagon has announced plans to revamp its program to train and equip rebels in Syria. The US military is to provide support for approved groups of fighters able to push into Islamic State-controlled territory with the support of US-led airstrikes. A BBC correspondent in Washington says the Pentagon review appears to acknowledge that the previous strategy to train and equip a strong rebel force has not been effective. Islamic State militants in Syria have seized a number of villages from rival insurgents north of Aleppo. A BBC correspondent says the Russian bombing campaign appears to have weakened the rebel groups and so given IS the opportunity to push forward. Israeli soldiers on the Gaza Strip border have fired at demonstrators who approached a crossing, killing 3 Palestinians and injuring more than 50 others. They later shot dead 2 Palestinian youths who were throwing rocks. In the West Bank, a Palestinian man was shot dead after he stabbed a policeman near a Jewish settlement. In southern Israel, police arrested a Jewish man they say stabbed 2 Bedouins and 2 Palestinians. The German government says there have been almost 500 attacks on homes intended for asylum seekers this year, 3 times more than in 2014. The German Interior Minister said 2/3 of the attacks had been carried out by members of the local population who had no previous criminal record. The UN Security Council has authorised the European Union to seize and dispose of boats smuggling migrants in the seas off Libya. 6 warships from EU states began an operation to disrupt people smuggling off Libya earlier this month. And that is the BBC News.
Broadcast Jamaican and NewsTalk 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall and this is the news in the Jamaican language. The Passport and Immigration Citizen Agency PICA, so in them last financial year, them sought out 2.5 million people who are coming to the island and 2.5 million people who have been left the island. As according to Jennifer McDonald, where the Chief Executive Officer for PICA, so people who are coming to the country go up by 6% and people who are left the country go up by 5%. McDonald said the rate go up because of the hard work where the people them work at PICA do, like a fix up the place them, fix up the technology and other things. Jamaica joined up with some other country from foreign for look on October as Cyber Security Awareness Month. As according to Philip Powell, where the Minister for Science, Technology, Energy and Mining, in the month here, they will look on some way to stop crime go on the internet. The minister said them build up one cyber incident response team for find some way to stop internet crime in the private and public sector. Derek Smith, who is the opposition spokesman for national security, said him not like what went on last night to the attack on one family in Longwood, Hanover. 6 people dead and 4 get shot and still in a hospital. Smith said him shot about the murder them were going in some place where crime never used to go on. Him said the government must do something now for sure so them serious about fighting against crime in the country. News on foreign. India Foreign Affairs Ministry make one complaint to the Saudi Arabian government after one report that some people attack one 58-year-old Indian woman from Riyadh. As according to the woman family, the woman been one helper and the people they must work for chop off her right hand after she been a child get her from them house last week. The woman in a hospital right now. Our family claims that the people they must work for in Saudi Arabia been a beat her regular. The people them in Saudi Arabia no say nothing about what go on yet. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and NewsTalk 93 FM just give the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by NewsTalk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon. With your 5 o'clock sports roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM, I am Mikhail Drama Johns, and we begin with football. Tomorrow we'll see the KSA 5-a-side knockout competition continue as there will be third-round matches being contested. The first bout of games tomorrow, set to kick off at 4:30 p.m., will see McKay Security versus Sunlight Windows and Doors, Restaurant of Jamaica facing Administrator General's Department AGD, Scotiabank Group B face Bank of Jamaica BOJ, and Maritime and Transport face the Urban Development Centre UDC. Meanwhile, at 5:30 p.m., Surrey Hotel Management will challenge National Health Fund NHF, Tasty face Spanish Grain Stores, Mobile Reserves challenge Alcor Windows and Doors, and Fontana have a meeting with Connex. Meanwhile, T. Geddes Grant will face the winner of the Fontana Connex fixture to decide the final quarterfinal place at a date to be announced. Further afield, today's bout of Euro qualifiers saw Switzerland scoring the biggest win, a 7-0 blanking of San Marino. Luxembourg followed San Marino as the next biggest losers, falling 4-0 to Spain. Meanwhile, Macedonia were also blanked, falling 2-0 to Ukraine. Moldova eased by Russia 2-1, and Montenegro were bettered 3-2 by Austria. In other games, England beat Estonia 2-0, Belarus clipped Slovakia 1-0, and Slovenia played to a 1-1 draw versus Lithuania. FIFA President Sepp Blatter is appealing against his 90-day ban from the football world's governing body. Blatter was yesterday suspended while FIFA's Ethics Committee investigates corruption claims against him. The 79-year-old Swiss was suspended along with the Secretary General Jerome Vauc and Vice President Michel Platini. All three, meanwhile, deny any wrongdoing. The Football Association FA has asked FIFA to hold an emergency meeting to discuss next February's presidential election. Platini, who is the FA's preferred candidate in the election to replace Blatter, will meanwhile contest the ban in the appropriate manner at the appropriate time, according to him. More football. Manchester City striker Sergio Aguero suffered a hamstring injury while playing for Argentina in their 2-0 World Cup qualifying defeat by Ecuador. Aguero, who scored 5 goals in City's win against Newcastle on October 3, was carried off after 22 minutes. The 27-year-old was just returning to fitness after a knee injury earlier in the season. And for the women, Liverpool ladies captain Gemma Bonner will miss the remainder of the season with a serious ankle injury. The 24-year-old central defender damaged the ligaments in her left ankle during Wednesday's 1-0 away defeat by Brescia in the Champions League. A scan has revealed that Bonner will be out of action for 8 to 12 weeks. And in cricket, the West Indies today opened their tour of Sri Lanka at the crease in their 3-day match. Playing at the Sinhalese Sports Club in Colombo, the regional side won the toss and elected to bat. At the drawing of stunts, the Windies had faced 46 overs, making 127 runs at the expense of 6 wickets. So far, opener Craig Brathwaite has the best score of 46, while Siraj Randive bagged 3 wickets for 33 runs. And the first one-day international ODI on the tour of Zimbabwe by Ireland saw the host claiming a 2-wicket win, clinching it with 6 balls to spare. They were the ones to win the toss, electing to send their guests to the crease. The Irish made 219 for the loss of 8 wickets in their allotted 50 overs, after which Zimbabwe made 222, losing 8 wickets. And finally, in tennis, Rafael Nadal had to come from behind to beat Jack Sock and book his semi-final meeting in the China Open, where he will face U.S. Open conqueror Fabio Fognini. The third seed's 3-6-6 6-4, 6-3 win in Beijing took the 29-year-old to a first hard-court semi in more than a year. Novak Djokovic extended his winning streak, meanwhile, to 27 matches after a 6-2, 6-2 win over John Aina, and the Serb will meet David Ferrer in the Final Four. As for the ladies, Agnieszka Radwanska and Anna Ivanovic are both through, and Radwanska beat Angelique Kerber 6-1, 6-4 in her quarterfinal, while Serb Ivanovic saw off Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova 6-3, 7-5. Radwanska will face Wimbledon finalist Gabin Muguruza after the 22-year-old Venezuelan beat American Bethany Mattek-Sands 6-1, 7-5. Ivanovic goes on to face Switzerland's Timea Batsinki, who overcame a shocking first set to defeat Italian Sara Irani 6-6, 6-3, 7-5. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama-Johns saying we'll now have the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by NewsTalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
At 5:27, business news. On the local stock market today, the index advanced by The index advanced by 6,800 points to close at 106,659.52. The junior market advanced by 63.41 to close at 1,162.71. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 26 stocks, of which 18 advanced, 2 declined, and 6 traded firm. Market volume amounted to 34 million units, valued at over $412 million. D&G was the volume leader. Stocks advancing today: Carib Cement, Caribbean Creams, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Consolidated Bakeries, D&G, Producers Group, Jamaica Teas, JMMB Group Limited, Lasco Distributors, Lasco Financial, Lasco Manufacturing, Lime, NCB, Panjam Investment, Proven Investments, Radio Jamaica, Sagicor Group, and Scotia Group. The 2 stocks declining were Jamaica Stock Exchange and Sterling Investments. On the foreign exchange market, the U.S. dollar closed at $119.35, the pound sterling at $183.40, the Canadian $92.20, and the euro $135.90. That's business news.
And now for a look at the weather. There is a trough to the west of Jamaica which will move farther west of the country this evening. In the forecast for tonight, conditions will be partly cloudy.
To end the news, the main points. Ministry of Education asked St. Hilda's High School to review the decision to rescind the appointment of head girl Jade Basco.
National Security Minister Peter Bunting links last night's killing of a family in Hanover to lottery scamming.
A senior lawyer detained by the major organized and anti-corruption agency as he leaves the courtroom.
And member of Jamaica Cause, Dr. Wayne West, says the organization is needed to counter the breakdown of morality in the society.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
The evening edition with Garfield Higgins. Next.
NewsTalk